Hello everyone, this is the concept video for module number 5. We're talking about research today. And to start us off, we're going to look at some sad events that happened recently over the last few years. This is a news article about the unfortunate passing of Jaden Smith, son of Will Smith, who died from committed suicide in 2016. Rest in peace, Jaden Smith. This is a news story about the death of The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They have his real name here, so it's very authentic. He died in 2014. Very sad indeed. This is a news story from Fox News, Fox Breaking News, about the death of Brad Pitt, who committed suicide. Very unfortunate. And then this one is about the death of Jim Carrey. All of these are very sad. It's very unfortunate, but also all of them are obviously not true. All of these people are still alive. These are all examples of fake news. This is a problem that has become a lot bigger recently because of the internet, but it's one that's existed forever. Fake news ends up happening a lot in our world because people don't really do enough research. They don't check if something's true before they end up posting it. And all of these were probably put out there just to get clicks, right? But other ones are put out by people that are just crazy and think that what they're saying is real. And if you meet somebody who's the same kind of crazy as you, that can be a very toxic situation. And the internet has facilitated an awful lot of that. The real serious kinds of fake news aren't like this. They're the ones that are like QAnon and that sort of thing. And yeah, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But like I've said, it's always been a problem. Here's an example of that, actually. This is a 120-year-old piece of clickbait. This is the New York World's article about the destruction of the USS Maine. If you've heard about the Spanish-American War or anything like that, this was called yellow journalism at the time. And this was it culminated all into a big competition between the two newspapers in New York trying to sell the flashiest headline. You can kind of see here some modern-day clickbait stuff happening that is actually happening in this newspaper from 120 years ago. They have a fake picture here. They have a big, exciting headline. They have $50,000 reward. Imagine $50,000 120 years ago. That would make you a very rich person. So this is, like I said, this is clickbait from 120 years ago. Those two journals were constantly fighting to see who could get the flashiest headline, who could get the most people to subscribe or read their newspapers. And eventually they got onto this thread of talking about the colonial possessions of Spain, which was Cuba, Puerto Rico, the Philippines, Guam, all of these places out in the Pacific. And they really sort of drummed up this entire war out of nowhere that probably otherwise no one would have really wanted to have. What they would do is write about the Spanish dealing with normal problems in their colonies and make the Spanish seem really bad, make the local colonial people seem really nice, and just hit this nerve in Americans that makes them want to fight for the little guy or whatever. But eventually what happened was it became like a political problem that they kept doing this, and the Americans sent the USS Maine to one of the Spanish colonies to protect the place, I guess, to show force or whatever, and while it was there, it exploded. And no one knew why it exploded, but they all assumed that the Spanish did it. It turned out later on that the Spanish didn't do it. All of the archaeology they've done of this thing shows that it exploded from the inside, so unless they got on board and blew it up, then it didn't have anything to do with them. What they do know is that these things had a huge design flaw that made them catch on fire and potentially explode. So, yeah, everyone in America blamed the Spanish for the destruction of this warship, and then they fought a very short little war where they crushed the Spanish Navy and they took over all of those colonies. And this turned out really, it didn't work out well for the people living on those islands or anything. The idea was to help them, but we ended up just taking over the insurrections that the Spanish had been dealing with. And so, for example, in the Philippines, we killed 1 million Filipinos in order to pacify the natives there, and it took 20 years. So this is something we have to be very careful of, and it's still happening today. This is a picture of of Colin Powell whenever he was trying to justify the United States invading Iraq. He's holding a little vial here of weapons of mass destruction. More weapons of mass destruction than were ever found inside of Iraq. Yeah, he's arguing here that the United States should invade Iraq because they have weapons of mass destruction. And one of the things that he cited when he was making this testimony was that the New York Times had said that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction, something that he had in fact told them was true. So, not doing enough research is not keeping a cool head. That's one of the things that led to this problem. Just assuming that other people were doing it for you, whereas yeah, we need to make sure that we're checking all of our facts because we don't want this and this to happen again. Another place where this is a problem, another more academic example maybe, and this is more like the examples that you guys will be writing about in your paper. This is Hippocrates. He's the father of modern medicine. Hippocrates was from ancient Greece, from Plato and Socrates' times, and he wrote a whole lot of books about how the human body works, and he supposedly dissected a lot of human bodies and examined a lot of people in ways that the Christian world wouldn't allow people to do. So they all just referred back to Hippocrates without actually checking any of the facts that he had given. One of those things that he said was that the human body is governed by 4 humors: dark bile, light bile, blood, and urine. And if you have one of those out of whack, if you have too much or too little of one of those, then it will make a person sick. This has been disproven since then, but it wasn't disproven until very recently because people would just refer to him without actually checking anything. One of the ways that they would try to cure someone of having their humors off is by bloodletting. So they would take a sick person, they would drain a bunch of blood out of them, and then hope that they would get better. And as far as we can tell, this never helped anyone ever. It probably made most of them worse. It in fact killed George Washington, the first president of the United States. So, yeah. So anyway, I've talked long enough about this, but that's why we have to do research. That's what you're going to be learning in this chapter, is how to do good research and how to check your facts and make sure that what you're reading is true. Because you don't want to be a you don't want to be a Hippocrates. You don't want to be a Colin Powell. You don't want to be a Pulitzer, and you don't want to be any of these people. So let's make sure that we check those facts.